Have you ever stopped to wonder how your favorite apps get from a developer's brain to your screen just flawlessly every single time? Well, the secret isn't magic, but honestly, it's pretty darn close. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on Docker, a piece of tech that solved one of the most maddening problems in software and completely changed the game.
Okay, so to really get why Docker is such a big deal, we have to start with a single, soul-crushing phrase. A ghost that has haunted developers and derailed projects for decades.
Ah, there it is, the classic. We've all been there in some way, right? You're working on something, it's absolutely perfect, you hand it off, and then, poof, it just breaks. For a developer, that phrase is the sound of everything falling apart for no good reason. It is the ultimate headache.
So what's the real culprit here? What's this invisible villain causing all this chaos? Well, the answer is surprisingly simple, but it creates a world of complexity. It all comes down to one thing: the environment.
A great way to think about this is like a recipe for a cake. Imagine you follow a recipe perfectly in your kitchen, with your oven, your specific ingredients. Then you give that recipe to a friend, but their oven is a little different. They use a different brand of flour. Maybe they use version 13.8 of sugar instead of 14.2. What do you get? A total disaster. That is exactly what's happening here. All these tiny, invisible differences between computers, they're just a recipe for failure.
So how do you solve this mess? Well, you don't just ship the recipe, you ship the entire kitchen. Think about it. If you were shipping a priceless piece of art, you wouldn't just toss it in a truck. No way. You'd build a custom, climate-controlled crate to protect it. That is precisely what Docker does for code.
And this brilliant idea has a name: containerization. And you've already seen its power in action. Think about the last app you installed on your phone. You just tapped install, and it worked, right? You didn't have to worry if your phone had the right software libraries. That's because the app came in its own perfect little bubble. Containerization creates that exact same magic bubble for any application on any computer.
And Docker is the amazing tool that lets us create and manage these bubbles. With Docker, you're not just a developer anymore. You're more like a master architect, creating this perfect, self-contained world for your application to live in. A world where you can finally say with total confidence, it works everywhere.
All right, so let's get our hands dirty and actually look at how this works. There are two core concepts you really need to get, and honestly, it's kind of like a Lego set for your code. You've got the instruction booklet, and then you've got the final thing you built.
First up, we have the Docker image. This is our instruction booklet, our blueprint. But it's actually more than that. Think of it like a perfect time capsule for your application. It has the code, the tools, the settings, every single thing your app needs to thrive, all frozen in this perfect, unchangeable state.
And you know what's wild? This entire blueprint is just a simple text file called a Docker file. Each line is just a clear, simple instruction for building our time capsule. From lays the foundation. Copy puts your code inside. Run installs all the necessary parts. And CMD, well, that's just the on switch. It's a simple, repeatable recipe for perfection.
So if the image is the blueprint, what happens when you press Build? Boom, you get a Docker container. This is the house, fully built and ready to go. It's the living, breathing version of your image, running your application in its own perfect, isolated little world. And the best part? You can spin up thousands of identical houses from that one single blueprint.
And look, this isn't just a small improvement, this is a complete game changer. We're talking about going from a horse and buggy to a supersonic jet. Your app is now portable enough to run absolutely anywhere, it's isolated so it won't mess with anything else, and it's incredibly light and fast. This right here is the magic.
Okay, so we've built our perfect little house. That's amazing. But what happens when you need to build an entire city? See, a modern application isn't just one house. It's a whole bustling metropolis of different services that all have to work together perfectly. And that's where things get really interesting. I mean, just imagine being a conductor trying to lead 100 musicians at once, and they're all playing different instruments in different rooms. That's what managing a modern app can feel like. You've got a database over here, an API over there, a user interface somewhere else. It is a recipe for pure chaos. So how do we fix that? We use Docker Compose. If Docker gives you the instruments, Compose is the conductor's baton. It brings order and harmony to all that chaos. With just one single, elegant file, you can write the entire symphony for your application. I mean, just look at the difference here.
On the left, you've got this tangled mess of commands. It's complex, it's manual, and it's so easy to get wrong. But on the right, you have a thing of beauty. One command, Docker compose up, and your entire application city just springs to life, perfectly connected and humming along.
So what's the big picture here? When you put all of these pieces together, what's the ultimate impact of this incredible technology? Well, it is nothing short of a revolution in how we create and share software. Here's the most important takeaway. Docker isn't just another tool. It's a key that unlocked a totally new way of building things. It makes development fast and predictable. It lets companies scale their services up or down at a moment's notice. But most importantly, it powers the engine of modern software development, this thing called CI/CD. That's the automated pipeline that takes code from an idea to reality in minutes, not months. And Docker provides the perfect, standardized fuel for that entire engine.
And all of this leads to one final, huge thought. We now have a universal package for software, kind of like what the MP3 did for music. So, when any idea can be reliably packaged and run on pretty much any computer in the entire world, what new worlds are we going to build with that incredible power? The only limit, really, is our own imagination.